Isn't it funny that in a sport of Floyd Mayweather's and Manny Pacquiao's and Vladimir Klitschko's, a fight like this is worth talking about? For me, it's confusing, surprising, bizarre, but I think it's something that is worth discussing because these two guys were towards the top of the division back in their days. Let's not forget Frans Botha fought, the biggest names in the heavyweight division. Even Danny Williams fought, beat Tyson, fought Klitschko. I mean, these were guys who've had paydays in their career. These were guys that you would assume would be financially secure. But yet the bizarre sport that is boxing has created a situation where these two guys, who are now both in their 40s by the way, will be fighting over 10 rounds in the boxing hub that is Equatorial Guinea. I remember when I was growing up watching Danny Williams. I remember watching the Harrison fight, the Tyson fight. Then seeing him go on and fight Klitschko. And look, to my eye, even though I was a bit of a youngster, he was never going to beat Klitschko. He never had that sort of talent. But he was a solid guy. He had capability, he had skill. In his younger days, he seemed, reasonably athletic, reasonably dynamic. And to see what he's become now is quite sad. To set the scene, Danny Williams, 41 years old. He's lost his last 3, including an opponent on debut, including an opponent with a 3-win, 4-loss record. Who'd have thought when he was facing, Klitschko, he'd be being brought in as someone to face an opponent on debut. I'm looking at his record and, I won't add it all up, but I'd guess in his last 20 fights he's had 2 wins, with the rest being losses. He's now been stopped 12 times, and you have to question the health consequences of him continuing and of him fighting on. Frans Botha, it's a not dissimilar story. 46 years old, he's lost his last 6. His last win was in 2011. My personal opinion, it's sad that these guys are fighting. It's sad that either the sport didn't pay them enough to give them a decent life afterwards, or for whatever reason that their habits and lifestyles outside of the ring meant that they weren't sensible with their money. It's very, very sad. You have to question the Equatorial Guinea sanctioning committee and what the standards and regulations are over there. I hope there's adequate safety procedures in place, because it would be a tragedy if one of these guys got hurt. The fight obviously doesn't have too much relevancy in the heavyweight division. The sad thing is, the winner may believe this gives them one last crack. Hopefully the loser learns a lesson off this one and decides to call it a day. In terms of who I think will win the fight, even though Botha's 5 years older, even though he hasn't had a win since 2011, whereas Williams has won more recently in mid-2014, I think Botha's got a lot more left. Botha went 8 rounds with Holyfield in 2010. He went 12 rounds with Michael Grant in 2011. Coincidentally, he was ahead on all 3 of the judges' scorecard when he got stopped in the 12th round in that fight. In 2012, he went 11 rounds with Takam. Again in 2012, he went the distance with Pianetta. He exposed Sonny Bin Williams in my idea over 10. He's been operating at a relatively high level. You know, the likes of Pianetta to Cam. You know, these are guys who are still, you know, top 25 heavyweights, if you like. And Botha, even though he's faded, even though he's not winning these fights, he's going very late into the fights, and he's he's doing enough to win rounds. He's causing problems for young athletes like Sonny Bill Williams. To my eye, he's still got a bit of durability, and he's still got a lot of ring savvy about him. Danny Williams, yes, he has had his hand raised. You know, he has had a win in 2013. He has had a win in 2014. But as I say, the standard of opponent he's being brought in to face is a lot lower. I mean, Frans Botha, for example, is being brought in to face a Joseph Parker, whereas Williams is being brought in to face guys on debut and guys with losing records. He's operating at a much lower level, and what you'll find is he's getting stopped a lot more than Botha is, and by a lot lesser competition. He was recently stopped in 2 by Adrian Granat. No, me neither. He was stopped in 1 by Andre Waritz, who took Botha 5 rounds, for example. I think Williams is so shot, if you like, that he's at the point now where his punch resistance and durability has completely gone. I also think he offers very little offensively these days. You know, in Williams's losses, for example, the guy he fought on debut won every round against him. When he fought Denis Baktov and lasted 10 rounds, Baktov won every round against him. You know, for me, he's really gone, and despite the fact he's younger than Frans Botha, despite the fact he's had more recent wins than Frans Botha, I think he's actually got quite a lot less left in the tank. It's just that the opposition he's been in with is some of the worst out there in boxing, whereas Botha's still performing at a reasonably high level. So my guess is Botha will win the fight. My guess is he'll stop Danny Williams, you know, after 3 or 4 rounds. And I just hope that the sort of boxing commissions in Equatorial Guinea have adequate sort of doctors and site and safety precautions available, because it would be such a shame if, you know, Danny Williams' career ended in tragedy. You could probably say it's already ended in tragedy, but I know he's got a family, I know he's got children and stuff, and I hope you know, nothing bad happens there. Thanks for watching. Will you be watching this fight? Let me know if there's any interest out there, or if you think that this is one that's too sad to watch.